Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's training. My name's Abby Yates.
And I'm Kirsten McGuire. We're part of the Hatch team, and we're so excited to talk today about AA, NA, and ACOA. So let's begin.
So in today's training, we will be discussing AA, also known as Alcoholics Anonymous, NA, also known as Narcotics Anonymous, and ACOA, also known as Adult Children of Alcoholics. At the end of this training, you should be able to define AA, NA, and ACOA, be able to identify risks and benefits of services for clients, be able to identify how and when to use this information in the work, be able to locate local resources, and be able to identify how Hatch can assist your facility with these resources. So let's dive in.
So let's start by talking about how is this information helpful to your work? Why should you be in this training? Why is it important to know these things? Well, it's important to know about AA, NA, and ACOA because the first thing, for staff that are maybe newer to this field, it may benefit you to actually attend one of these groups. For those who haven't personally participated in AA, NA, or ACOA, there are open meetings that are available to anyone, not just people that are in recovery or part of those groups, to be able to hear from people in that community, be able to learn a little bit more, and be able to better support others in their personal lives or in their work. For clients or their loved ones that are looking for community support outside of your facility services, these can be a really great option. So it's really helpful for all professionals to be able to know about these offerings and be able to speak to them in case your clients or their loved ones have any questions. For clients that are looking for additional support without additional costs, or need resources during unusual times or in the weekends, these support groups can be a really great option. So all AA, NA, and ACOA groups do not cost any money. They do take donations, but there's no cost associated with it. And they're very flexible. And we'll dive into this more, but they're very flexible about their offerings. And they have a lot of different locations in comparison to any other kind of facility or programming that is done. So this is a really great option for clients that have unusual schedules that need some additional support. Lastly, it's really important to talk about this information, and it's going to be helpful to you because many states require the staff receive this training. That way, the states really want to ensure that staff have well-rounded resources and information about offerings available to their clients. So going to participate in this training is going to help you in your work because it's going to help you to be compliant with local regulations that are set forth to ensure that we're engaging in best practices. So great work on being in this training. And we're going to dive in a little bit more about AA on the next slide.
Cool. Thanks, Kirsten. Now let's talk about what these acronyms mean and how they work. We'll start with AA. So AA, also known as Alcoholics Anonymous, this is based on information provided by AA.org. And let's talk about what is AA. So AA is a fellowship of people who come together to solve their drinking problem. It doesn't cost anything to attend AA meetings, and there is no age or education requirements to participate. Membership is open to anyone who wants to do something about their drinking problem. AA's primary purpose is to help alcoholics achieve sobriety. Let's talk more about how AA works. Members use the 12 steps to maintain sobriety. Groups use the 12 traditions to stay unified. AA's 12 steps are a set of spiritual principles. When practiced as a way of life, they can expel the obsession to drink and enable the sufferer to recover from alcoholism. The 12 traditions apply to AA as a whole. They outline how AA maintains its unity and relates itself to the world around it. The book, Alcoholics Anonymous, describes the AA program of recovery. It also contains stories written by the co-founders and stories from a wide range of members who have recovery in AA. So now we're going to dive into what are the 12 steps of AA.
Okay, so now that we've talked about how AA works generally, let's dive into the exact steps and traditions that are used. So starting with the 12 steps that are outlined in the book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Number 1, we admit we are powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understand Him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongings. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all of these defects of character. Abby, please take us to the next slide. All right, continuing on. 7. Humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8. Made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Continued to take personal inventory when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. These steps are intended to be completed in the order that they are written in. Often individuals will work with their sponsor, someone who mentors them, that has maintained their sobriety for an extended period of time, or a mental health professional. Now let's talk about the traditions.
The 12 traditions provide guidelines for relationships between the group's members and the global fellowship and society at large. Questions of finance, public relations, donations, and purpose are addressed in the traditions. So we're going to go through a short version of the traditions, and longer versions can be found at aa.org. Number 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends upon AA unity. Number 2, for our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God, as He may express Himself in our group conscious. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. Number 3, the only requirement for AA membership is a desire to stop drinking. And number 4, each group should be autonomous, except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. Okay, and continuing. Number 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry its message to the alcoholic who still suffers. Number 6, an AA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the AA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, and prestige divert us from our primary purpose. Number 7, every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. And number 8, Alcoholics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. Number 9, AA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those they serve. Number 10, Alcoholics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the AA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. Number 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. And lastly, number 12, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. All right, so now that we've gone through the 12 steps and the 12 traditions, let's talk about the effectiveness of AA.
Great. So a 2021 review done by Stanford Medicine evaluating 35 studies across 145 scientists and over 10,000 participants regarding the effectiveness of AA determined that AA is one of the most effective resources for abstinence. Largely attributed to the social interaction and fellowship that's offered in these groups, AA found an average of 60% effectiveness in comparison to no interventions, and at least as effective in comparison to other interventions such as psychotherapy and maintaining sobriety. When evaluating costs associated with recovery, it was also determined that individuals that engage in AA saw a reduction of mental health costs of $10,000 per person in health costs. It's important to note that this review only focused on data regarding AA and did not include NA or ACOA.
Okay, now let's move on and talk about NA, also known as Narcotics Anonymous. So this information is provided by NA.org. NA is a nonprofit fellowship or society of men and women for whom drugs has become a major problem. We are recovering addicts who meet regularly to help each other stay clean. This is a program of complete abstinence from all drugs. There's only one requirement for membership, the desire to stop using. We suggest that you keep an open mind and give yourself a break. Our program is a set of principles written so simply that we can follow them in our daily lives. The most important thing about them is that they work. There are no strings attached to NA. We are not affiliated with any other organizations. We have no initiation fees or dues, no pledges to sign, no promises to make to anyone. We are not connected with any political, religious, or law enforcement groups and are under no surveillance at any time. Anyone may join us, regardless of age, race, sexual identity, creed, religion, or lack of religion. So let's talk about how Narcotics Anonymous works. NA follows the 12-step principles to guide its member on the path of recovery.
All right, so now that we've talked about how NA works generally, let's dive into the exact steps. 1, we admit we are powerless over addiction, that our lives have become unmanageable. 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to addicts and to practice these principles in all of our affairs.
Great. So then in addition to the 12 steps, there are also 12 traditions of NA. The primary service of Narcotics Anonymous is provided through the NA meetings. Each group is autonomous. However, the group and NA as a whole function on the basis of the principles that apply to all of Narcotics Anonymous. These are set forth in the 12 traditions of NA. They reflect the accumulated experience that can help NA groups maintain their unity. The term God is used in the wording, and this does not refer to any religion or creed, but rather each person can use what suits him or her personally in the sense of a power greater than ourselves. This information can be found at na.org. We keep what we have only with vigilance, and just as freedom for the individual comes from the 12 steps, so freedom from the group springs from our traditions. As long as the ties that bind us together are stronger than those that would tear us apart, all will be well. Number 1, our common welfare should come first. Personal recovery depends on NA unity. Number 2, for our group purpose, there is but one ultimate authority, a loving God, as He may express Himself in our group conscious. Our leaders are but trusted servants, they do not govern. Number 3, the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop using. Number 4, each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups of NA as a whole. Number 5, each group has but one primary purpose, to carry the message to the addict who still suffers. And number 6, an NA group ought never endorse, finance, or lend the NA name to any related facility or outside enterprise, lest problems of money, property, or prestige divert us from our primary purpose. And continuing on the 12 traditions, we have number 7, every NA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. Number 8, Narcotics Anonymous should remain forever non-professional, but our service centers may employ special workers. Number 9, NA as such ought never be organized, but we may create service boards or committees directly responsible to those that they serve. Number 10, Narcotics Anonymous has no opinion on outside issues, hence the NA name ought never be drawn into public controversy. Number 11, our public relations policy is based on attraction rather than promotion. We need always maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities.
All right, so now that we've described AA and NA, you may be wondering what the difference is between AA and NA. So you probably saw that there was a lot of similarities. Let's talk about some key differences. So the first one is that AA is mainly focused on alcoholism. You'll notice kind of throughout the steps and traditions, they talked about alcohol or alcoholism, versus where NA focuses on all addictions. You'll hear addict. NA encourages connection to a higher power for recovery versus where some would say that NA focuses on the individual and disease of addiction. Now, NA also mentions a higher power, but some individuals would say that NA really also focuses on the inner self and the disease. AA focuses on a legal substance, alcohol, versus where NA focuses on all substances, including illegal ones as well, sometimes leading to different groups feeling comfortable in each space. Now, individuals that also engage in other substance use outside of alcohol are welcome to attend AA meetings, and individuals that just drink alcohol are able to attend NA meetings, but there is a differentiation in the language that's used and an openness in each group. Ultimately, individuals can choose to attend either group or attend both meetings based on what they need for their recovery. Recovery looks different for everyone, so trying a variety of different groups can be helpful to figure out what is going to work best for you and help you to be successful in your recovery. Now we're going to dive in and talk about ACOA, also known as ACA.
Great. So what is ACOA or ACA? Also known as codependency or adult children of alcoholics. This group can be helpful for individuals who are in recovery themselves or are seeking support for a loved one who is in recovery. ACA, Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families, is a 12-step, 12-tradition program of people who grew up in dysfunctional homes. We meet and share our experience of growing up in an environment where abuse, neglect, and trauma infected us. This affects us today and influences how we deal with all aspects of our lives. ACA provides a safe, non-judgmental environment that allows us to grieve our childhoods and conduct an honest inventory of ourselves and our family. So we may identify and heal core trauma, experience freedom from shame and abandonment, and become our own loving parents. ACA is a 12-step program that focuses on emotional sobriety. We are all profoundly affected by the dysfunction in our families of origin, whether alcohol was present in the home or not. Consequently, we developed a set of laundry list traits that help us survive that experience. These traits may have been adaptive at the time, but have now come to substantially disrupt our lives. We recover by working our program. This means attending ACA meetings and working with 12 steps. The steps are not meant to be worked in isolation, which is why we work with more experienced members, a 12-step group, and or our fellow travelers, others in ACA. Let's move on and talk about some of the beliefs and goals of ACA.
So the 12 steps of ACA or ACOA are similar to AA and NA. So for this training, instead we'll be focusing on the quote laundry list or the 14 traits of ACA attempts to address. So the 14 traits are as follows. 1, we become isolated and afraid of people and authority figures. 2, we became approval seekers and lost our identity in the process. We are frightened by angry people and any personal criticism. We either become alcoholics, marry them, or both, or find another compulsive personality such as a workaholic to fulfill our sick abandonment needs. 5, we live life from the viewpoint of victims, and we are attracted by that weakness in our love and friendship relationships. 6, we have an overdeveloped sense of responsibility, and it is easier for us to be concerned with others rather than ourselves. This enables us not to look too closely at our own faults. 7, we get guilty feelings when we stand up for ourselves instead of giving in to others. 8, we become addicted to excitement. 9, we confuse love and pity and tend to, quote, love people we can, quote, pity and, quote, rescue. We have, quote, stuffed our feelings from our traumatic childhood and have lost the ability to feel or express our feelings because it hurts so much, or denial. We judge ourselves harshly and have a low sense of self-esteem. 12, we are dependent personalities who are terrified of abandonment and will do anything to hold on to a relationship in order not to experience painful abandonment feelings, which we received from living with sick people who were never there emotionally for us. 13, alcoholism is a family disease, and we become para-alcoholics and took on the characteristics of that disease even though we did not pick up the drink. 14, para-alcoholics are reactors rather than actors.
Thanks, Kirsten. And now let's look at the flip side of these traits. Number one, we move out of isolation and are not unrealistically afraid of other people, even authority figures. 2, we do not depend on others to tell us who we are. 3, we are not automatically frightened by angry people and no longer regard personal criticism as a threat. 4, we do not have a compulsive need to recreate abandonment. 5, we stop living life from the standpoint of victims and are not attracted by this trait in our important relationships. 6, we do not use enabling as a way to avoid looking at our own shortcomings. 7, we do not feel guilty when we stand up for ourselves. 8, we avoid emotional intoxication and choose workable relationships instead of constant upset. 9, we are able to distinguish love from pity and do not think rescuing people we pity is an act of love. 10, we come out of denial about our traumatic childhoods and regain the ability to feel and express our emotions. 11, we stop judging and condemning ourselves and discover a sense of self-worth. 12, we grow in independence and are no longer terrified of abandonment. We have interdependent relationships with healthy people, not dependent relationships with people who are emotionally unavailable. 13, the characteristics of alcoholism and para-alcoholism we have internalized are identified, acknowledged, and removed. And 14, we are actors, not reactors.
Great. Thanks so much, Abby. So now we're going to move on and talk about these groups kind of as a whole and talk about how to identify risks and benefits of services for clients to kind of help guide when should we bring this up, when do we think that these could potentially be a good fit, and if clients are asking questions, how can we kind of talk about benefits that they could experience or risks they could experience. So whenever we talk about services in recovery, it's really important to be aware of the risks and benefits associated with clients participating in them. So let's discuss the benefits and risks of clients engaging in the services we've discussed throughout this training, starting with benefits. So these will be benefits for all of the groups. Starting off, all 3 groups offer free meetings to the public, making it financially accessible to individuals. Meetings are often offered at a variety of locations and times, days of the week, and are now also available virtually, making them accessible to a variety of different schedules and locations. And this includes online groups for those unable to travel to meetings. There's no attendance requirement, so people can show up as often as they desire with varying schedules. Meeting attendees and discussions are intended to be anonymous, allowing for privacy to be maintained, which can be really important to clients that are newer in recovery or maybe have certain professional needs or personal needs where they're not ready to talk about their recovery openly. Meetings have reading material and set steps to follow for those that desire more structured care. Individuals that participate in these services often describe receiving and experiencing a sense of community. There's mentorship opportunities through both fellowship and sponsorship, and groups can be quote open or quote closed, allowing for privacy or for people that are curious, not ready to commit, or for family to attend. So now let's discuss some of the risks potentially associated with participating in these types of groups.
So as with all interventions, there's no guarantee that this will work for all individuals. Some individuals may be triggered or struggle with mentions of higher power, causing additional strain in recovery. Some individuals may struggle with other themes mentioned in the programming, causing additional strain in recovery. And some individuals may need additional support that is not provided, such as private sessions with a professional, medication, or a higher level of care. When talking to a client, it's important to be transparent and communicate both the benefits and risks that are associated with the support groups and allowing the client to make a decision that works best for them in their recovery. There's no guarantee that clients will experience the negative or positive impacts, but having the autonomy to make that decision for them in their recovery is very critical.
Great. Now let's talk about how to be able to locate local services and resources that are available to your client. So facilities can find local resources by going to aa.org, na.org, and adultchildren.org, and then go to find meetings. This is a really great option for facilities to be able to see what's in their area, and if any of their clients are not local, maybe you're a residential or detox facility and someone has traveled from far away, you can also usually find meetings available by typing in zip codes and finding something that's closer to them once they're no longer in the program. Some facilities may also want to offer meetings at their location, which is totally okay. So you can do that by contacting your local AA, NA, or ACOA representatives and offering the space and discussing availability. So this is a great option if you notice that there's not any meetings close to you, or maybe there are meetings that are close, but maybe there's a certain day or time where there isn't a meeting available and you have a room that's not currently being used. This is a really great option to improve accessibility for your community, potentially your clients, and just further network and help more people be able to access accessible recovery options.
Great. And then lastly, how does Hatch help? So Hatch can assist you with identifying these resources for your clients. You can check out our training center. We provide training to staff on different topics, and community relations resources and emergency contacts form. This allows for facilities to maintain a list of local resources to provide to clients. All right. Thank you for watching this training, and we hope it was helpful.